Hey everybody, this is Brian Johnson. We'll get started here in just a couple minutes. Got a number of people rolling in. Do me a favor in the chat section to the right YouTube video. Go ahead and announce yourself. Say, what your name is and where you're from. We're going to start in 1 minute. If you have any advanced questions or any questions you want regarding the specific use of the PPC Scope software, I know we're going to have a number of attendees that are just still evaluating as far as whether or not this is the right solution, trying to figure out what the differences are from the plans, trying to understand as far as what direction it's going and whether or not it's right for them. If you want to put in your questions into the chat, I will go ahead and scan through those periodically, and I will try to answer those as best as I can. My plan for today is to go in and just do a walkthrough of PPC Scope. I'm going to be focusing primarily on, because we already have the training videos up there for the free account, I'm going to assume that everybody's already gone through all those and knows how to use those. And if they've had any support, they've already contacted our team, who's very responsive. For what I'm going to go through is I'm going to go through and detail some of the additional features that are available with the basic edition, as well as some new some recently added beta features that we introduced, along with what we have other beta features that are coming in here shortly, as well as what our plan is for continuing to grow the various editions to the point where we have the professional edition, which is going to have a lot more features, a lot more integration, and we'll be able to provide a lot more hands-on. That's going to be typically for some of the more intermediate to advanced level users. We also do have a enterprise and agency level plan. However, that one is going to take a little bit longer because we're going to try to add in some bulk operation features and multi-account features. But just starting out, my name is Brian Johnson. Some of you probably know me already from moderating the Facebook group Amazon PPC Troubleshooting. Some of you may have come across videos that I've put up to YouTube that maybe were shared around the web regarding specific tactics. I typically focus in on troubleshooting the sponsored product ads, and that's where a lot of my consulting and coaching practice is. And primarily so that's where I have a lot of insight to a lot of different accounts, a lot of different scenarios, and I've had to figure out some pretty tricky scenarios and try to troubleshoot those and come up with a resolution. And so I've been fortunate enough to be exposed to a lot of different experiences like that, so that I can work through the details and be on top of what is working, what's not working with the Amazon sponsored ads. Just kind of jumping in here, as far as where I'm at right now, the screen that you should be able to see, assuming that everybody can hear my voice and everything, the screen that you see here is simply just the login screen. This is once you go to ppcscope.com and you click the login button, it'll take you to the login screen. I'm just going to use a demonstration account for the sake of example. But what you can see on this is that if I just log in, it's going to go directly to the dashboard. The dashboard is the starting point when you use your account. This is the account level view of your entire Amazon advertising account. And what it's looking at is going to be based off of the files that you upload. We are working on integration with a hybrid integration with Amazon. Amazon does not support direct integration for their sponsored products platform. However, they are working on that, and they should have something available in the next within the next year for that. So in the case of what we're doing is we're doing a hybrid integration with Guest Accountant. We do have that currently in development to make this a lot easier, as well as to be able to pull down some of the reports, not only the search term report automatically, but also some of the related reports, campaign performance report, bulk operations, estimated page one. That way we can integrate all that data and make correlations within the software once that information is available in your account. So starting out, assuming that you're on, when you first sign up or when you come in fresh to PPC Scope, to the dashboard, it's going to have no data. The chart won't show, the charts don't show up. The numbers for total account sales and total account spend are typically going to be 0. Total account ACOS is probably 999. So that's kind of the default. We don't have any information to work off of. That can be for a couple different reasons. One is either step one has not been completed yet, or as recently occurred, we did have to reset some accounts as a result of a bug that we had to resolve, and we had no other choice but to clear out the account. So in that case, it's just a case of reloading or re-uploading your latest search term report. And then from there on, you can add on future ones, and it'll be able to track over time. So in the case of like step one as an example, and just a real quick question as far as the UK version, yes, this does work. This is only working for English language. We don't have it translated to French, German, some of those, but for anybody who's using English as their default language within their account, whether that is the US.com, whether it's .co.uk, .de, this will still work in those situations. It just requires the English version of that search term report. If for step one, if you click to upload new files or file upload page, it'll simply take you to a file upload page. By default, it's going to ask you for the search term report. The search term report, and if you're not familiar with that as far as how you obtain that, there is a video here and instructions with images. I think we've covered that one fairly thoroughly, so I'm not going to recover that that process, but it's just a process of going into your Seller Central account, going to your advertising reports, requesting the latest search term report, and then once you have that .text file, don't open it, don't format it into an Excel spreadsheet, don't reformat it. Simply just upload that raw original version of the text file to just attach it using the choose file and then upload. And that will automatically show you a confirmation. In the basic account, in free account, it actually post immediately because it does not retain that data. It doesn't need to correlate it with any other past or present data. With the basic account, moving forward with basic account, pro account, enterprise, it does combine the data and make correlations with other reports, and so it actually goes into the database portion of your account, and therefore there is a load time on it. Usually it's 10 to 15 minutes. It actually runs every 6 or 7 minutes, I believe, as far as the upload. Once that occurs, you simply just return back to step number one, which is the dashboard, and you should have a loaded You should have your data loaded. You should see numbers along the top. That's your first clue. You should see a chart, both the funnel, advertising sales funnel chart and the most least effective chart. If you do not, be sure to make sure that you did upload the original text file of your search term report. It's not uncommon for people to upload their campaign performance report by accident, and then just simply not realize that there was differences, that there is actually 7 different advertising reports available. For starters, go with search term report, upload the text file, you should be fine. If not, as always, on top and bottom, there's a contact support. Just let us know. We're here to help you. So step 2 on this, assuming that your data, you've got your file uploaded, it's, the time has passed for the data to upload into your account and your data is actually showing, you have the ability to simply jump to step 3 and look at your account overview. This is for your entire advertising account within the range of the search term report, which is by default 60 days. And what you're going to see is you're going to see the overall total account sales that are available from that report, which is the last 60 days, including the total account spend across all of your campaigns and ad groups, and your overall average advertising cost of sale. Advertising cost of sale, for those who don't, who are not clear on this, and there's a common misconception that 100% is break even. That is not the case. It actually is going to be closer to what your profit margin is going to be. So for instance, if you, after your cost of goods sold, your FBA fees, your taxes, your overhead, whatever, if your profit margin, if you're netting a 30% profit margin as an example, then your break even with advertising would be approximately 30%. That's kind of a good rule of thumb. That's your first goal, is to make sure that you're getting to at least breaking even, and then work on optimizing further in order to reduce that even lower. The more you get that ACOS lower, the more profitable your campaigns are going to be. If you're above that, that's fine. Just work on optimizing. This is where the software like this is going to help you. Now, I will tell you, for those who are, as far as the status of the basic account, as of January 8th, 2016, we do have a couple of new beta features that I can show you here, plus a couple more that are coming out this week. They're going to help some of the, based off of some requests and some of the more advanced features that we were planning on adding in anyway, and we've just gotten to that point where we're ready to start releasing some of those into the basic account. A common point is that the software is not yet at the level where somebody who is very adept with Excel, using pivot tables and doing full data analysis on their own, the software is probably not going to help you. It's not going to be there. Will we get there? Absolutely. We're gonna get there. We're gonna exceed that. We're gonna blow it out of the water, so that it absolutely is going to become a necessity at some point because of the value that the software provides. But this is new grounds as far as any kind of software running with Amazon's pay-per-click platform. And we were fortunate enough to be first to market with this platform. We certainly have competitors that are coming on board, but they're running into similar challenges that we've already overcome. And so as long as we continue to move faster and can grow our team, we're going to continue to create more and more value. So for now, as of January 8th, 2016, let me show you what we currently have. So again, account level overview. Total account sales, as far as the number of gross product sales that you have sold as a result of your pay-per-click advertising campaigns. Your total amount that you've spent on Amazon pay-per-click advertising to obtain those sales, ideally. And of course, your advertising cost of sale. The advertising sales funnel across your entire account is just basically a sum of all of the impressions across all of your accounts or across all of your campaigns and ad groups, along with the clicks and the orders. We'll even throw in here the average ad spend per unit sold overall across your entire account, so you know the dollar value associated with all of your advertising spend compared to the number of products that you're actually selling. So you know on an average basis, you're selling X number of products, you spent X amount of advertising dollars, and when it breaks it down to an individual per unit sold, this is how much that cost is across your entire account. The most least effective search terms chart probably provides the biggest value. This is a little bit smaller on the free account. This is 5 and 5. On the basic account, this is 10 and 10. It can show less on the green side because specifically, and this is a common point of confusion, we're still debating as far as if we're going to modify this or not, but it's intentional that we only show on what we consider most effective, the products that have more than one conversion. The reason we do that is because you're going to have plenty of single or one-off conversions where somebody just did some random search or they were searching for a completely different product, stumbled across yours and decided to buy it. We don't, from an advertising standpoint, that's not much for us to work on. They may come back and they may, you may have other sales based off of that search term in the future. But for now, we're just going to focus when we're referring to the most effective search terms. We're only going to show transactions or search terms rather that have more than one transaction. That way we can see that there's a pattern establishing, and that way we can start gravitating toward the recurring purchases based off of those search terms. So as an example, if on the visual chart, if you roll over this top the top one or the top bar chart on here, what this is telling us is that in this example, tent cooler, which is in, you can see in the parentheses, which is in the tent cooler bag campaign and within the tent cooler ad group, had a gross product sales less advertising account spend or advertising spend that netted $719.40. This is the net difference between gross product sales and your total ad spend on that particular term. This is not suggesting that your take-home pocket money is $719. This is simply just the difference between your gross sales and your ad spend. It's going to pull down by order of net value up to 10 on this chart, and then it's going to show the bottom 10 this similar way. Where did you spend the most amount of money in comparison to your comparison to your sales? Now on the spend side, because it's pretty common that you don't have sales and you're just bleeding money out because you're just spending advertising dollars, you're not getting the conversions. What you're going to see on this is you're going to have these can all be zero, single transactions, more than one transaction. Oftentimes it's zero transactions where you're just spending money on advertising and you're not going any farther than that. You're simply just spending money, you're not getting a return. This is kind of your big red flag to say, okay, what are my most expensive search terms that I need to handle? Either I need to do a negative match for, or I need to, if it's inside of a manual campaign, perhaps I simply just reduce the bid, which is what I commonly recommend. One of the things that is a common question that comes up is when there is a letter and number combination that starts with B0 and typically is, I don't know, what is it, 8 to 10 characters long. That is simply just stating that is another product, another competitor's ASIN number. Just every product has that ASIN number, and when it shows up in your search term reports or in these charts, it simply is saying that your ad was shown on somebody else's product listing in the sponsored ad row at the bottom of their listing. Most of the times those don't convert, and so they're expensive. Amazon just recently degraded the negative matching service because they were having too many bugs with it, I think. And so you can no longer do a negative match on a single word such as an ASIN. Now, we're still testing single words in general, but we know for sure that the negative match on an ASIN specifically, in order to prevent your ad from being shown on a competitor listing, is no longer functional. And Amazon specifically states, in order to, if you have any kind of problem with that, click fraud or anything that is truly, very expensive, where your ad is being shown on somebody else's listing and it's just costing you too much money, you're going to have to switch over to a manual campaign in order to compensate for their degradation in the service. Amazon changes things on pretty much on a weekly basis, so we may see that come back here in a few weeks once they get the bugs worked out. So that pretty much is what the free account would look like. Generally, that's pretty much all you get. In the basic account, which we're actually looking at the basic account, of course, you have the larger, most least effective chart. This is where it starts getting more helpful for basic users. First of all, the campaign table down here at the bottom. This actually is going to go in and highlight and allow you to sort different columns so that you can see which campaigns are performing best or worst based off of your criteria. It's going to give you the focus so that you can actually look in and say, where are my big problems? Where are my big opportunities? And know exactly where to go to start fixing something or start scaling something up. So we're moving beyond the account level. Now we're getting into the campaign level. With the campaign level, I can go in, let's say if, for instance, I want to know, where am I losing the most amount of money? My total product sales minus my ad spend is costing me more money than it's making. Let me just sort by clicking on the column title for adjusted revenue. And I can see the stake sharpener automatic in this example. This particular campaign, which I can click through to, is losing the most amount of money right now. And I can see other metrics, maybe other things are more important. Where are my orders coming from? Where am I running? Where's my highest average cost per click? Where's my lowest ACOS? We use 999 as an ACOS simply to state that it's gone over 1,000. At that point, it's really bad. You really need to fix it. And then average ad spend per unit sold, similar to this metric up here, except it shows it at the campaign level, as well as the average selling price when you actually have sales. In this case here, if we simply look at, we can identify which ones are costing us the most money, which ones are earning the most net revenue. And we can go in and we can focus in and determine where most of, like for instance, if I'm looking at, for instance, let's take a look at an example campaign here. Let's look at this first one here. I'm going to simply click on this and drill down in. One note before I do that, let me scroll back up here really quick. You also have the ability to simply, if you already know what campaign you want to jump to, at the top, you simply have a campaign selector. You can just jump down to the specific campaign that you're working on. You can also, let's say if there's a last impression date range. If you made a change, like let's say for instance, on this report is actually from October, November timeframe. Let's say you made a change on October 15th or October 31st, and you removed some of these down at the bottom that are really bad. And I don't know that I've actually removed these. So we'll see the change, but I can actually go in and say, okay, show me campaigns that have been active, that are still active as of November 1st, 2015 until, present. And I can update this chart, this focus. And you can see the numbers all change because now it's focusing just on the numbers of campaigns and search terms that are still active within this date range. So that way you can focus in. If you made a change, if you eliminated, paused a campaign or paused a search term, you can go back and adjust the date range to show, okay, just show me everything since then. The search term report is limited in the sense that we can't simply just say, okay, show me the specific transactions. We'll get to that point as we integrate more with the other 6 advertising reports. That's coming. But for now, this at least gives you a chance to narrow it down a little bit so you can see changes. So in this case here, it actually did filter out the bottom one. So now I see, okay, now that I've filtered out the worst one, now I can see which one's my next worst one. Okay, now I need to go in and I need to get rid of TARP stake sharpener, whatever that example word is. And you can see within that last range, all the data is changing. You can see all the data has been updated to the most recent. So let me reset this here really quick. And currently we actually have it so that it resets, so if you drill down into a campaign or a specific ad group, it'll actually will actually reset that date range. We're going to work on some different features that allow you to hold that if that's your preference. But let's take a look, for instance, at the let's see here. Let's just go into Stake Sharpener Manual. This one down here at the bottom that's making the most money. Let's see what we've got. So we're drilling down into the campaign level itself. So this is just looking at the campaign that is Stake Sharpener Manual. And one of the things that I can do is, the numbers are all updated for specific to that. There's a couple of other numbers like average cost per click that shows up here. You still have the chart, the visual chart that shows you the most and least effective. We do have one feature that's coming soon that is going to track your impressions, clicks, and orders over time. This does require a different campaign report to be uploaded in order for this to populate, but we do currently have this one in testing. It's not quite yet in beta. But one of the things you can do is, now that you've drilled down into a campaign, you can get a better idea, okay, how is this campaign performing overall? And if I have multiple ad groups, even if I have a single ad group, I can actually go in and I can look to see, okay, here's a specific ad, I've actually got an ad group table down here, and it can have one or more. In this case, I just have one ad group that is in this specific campaign. If there was more, it would show all the rest of them. You could sort the columns to figure out where do you need to focus your attention. That's our primary goal right now, is just to focus your attention so you know where to act, so you can spend your time efficiently on what's most critical, whether your interest is in plugging the leaks of where you're spending too much money on something, you need to stop it from spending so much money, or if you're ready to scale up, you can go in and determine which terms within specific campaigns are ready to take the next level and scale up. So in this particular example here, is that similar to the campaign view, we've made a couple of different changes to the interface as far as additional information. We're going to continue to expand this. This will continue to stretch down and get bigger and bigger as we add on more features. But right now, here's where it gets a little bit more detailed. As we get into, if we click on the specific ad group, we can drill down into the specific ad group itself. And what we can see is that, yes, we do still currently have this chart. This is temporary. This is going to be going away. You've already seen enough visual representation at the account level and the campaign level. We're bringing it down. We're going to get a little bit more narrow on this. That's why we're introducing, we just recently introduced a couple of new beta features that are going to, we have the most effective recurring terms table, as well as the least effective terms table. This is going to be replacing this chart at the ad group level. So once you're down in here, you want specifics, you want something actionable. And what this is going to do, right now we're still doing up to 10 per. We're going to expand this out to be to show more on each one. But this is going to give you some additional data, and we're going to expand as far as the number of columns in here that give you better, more precise data to show here are your top revenue search terms. And let's say, for instance, you want to scale the search terms and create a new campaign that focuses just in on those separate budget, maybe a more aggressive bidding strategy. Maybe you want to take those terms that are working, put them into a bulk keyword research tool like AdWords, Merchant Words, Keyword Inspector, any kind of a bulk keyword research tool like that, in order to get a large group of keywords that you can then create another manual exact match low bid campaign to try to discover some new opportunities. In this case here, we also have the simply ability, like, you know, I can cut and paste that entire list really quickly. Same thing with on the negative side. Here are my most expensive ones. I can see that these terms here are being searched, people are clicking on them, but I'm not making any sales, I'm losing money. And depending on what your threshold is, for the ones that are losing a little bit of money, I might leave those run for a little bit longer. Some of the more expensive ones, like Steak Sharpener, Tent Club, Grips, whatever, I might copy those, just, you know, copy and paste those, or even the entire list, I might copy and paste those into a negative exact match. If I'm running an automatic campaign, for instance, I may throw those into a negative exact match in order to eliminate those. That's especially true if you look at the term and say, that's not even relevant to what I'm selling. That's for a completely different product. You definitely want to do a negative match on those. I usually say be more precise and do a negative exact match. Phrase match starts picking up some other terms you may not necessarily know what the impact is. That's where it gets into a couple of the other beta features that we're going to be rolling out soon. Two other beta features that we're working on right now. One is the ability to see where you have duplicates. So for instance, you can see search terms that are in more than one campaign, and maybe the traffic is being split among those different campaigns, and you're not aware of it. You don't necessarily see it yet. That's a feature that we're going to be adding in here. We'll label it as beta feature because we'll continue to change it, even though it's going to be made available to you as soon as we have it reasonably tested and ready for you to start using. This is not something, these kind of features are not available with like the free account, as an example. This is always going to be just in, like say in the beta, in the basic account. We'll continue to add in features on all these different pages, as well as you know, continue to make design changes based off of need, new data that's available, and to make new correlations. So we have the new effective terms table, both the most and the least. We're going to add on the ability to quickly check to see and point out to you as far as duplicates that are occurring, duplicate search terms that are occurring or conflicting against each other with the same match type in each of the across multiple campaigns or ad groups. We have another one that I'm really excited about. This one is we're kind of in the back end beta testing on that one because it's a little more complex. But what this is doing, and I have a little bit of trouble as far as explaining this one, but imagine being able to go into, if you look at your search term report and you see the long list of customer search terms, you can see specific search terms, 3, 4, 5 keywords in a search term that may be really profitable or that are maybe losing a bunch of money. But if you scan through there visually and you look at the different, at the list of search terms, you're going to see patterns emerge that you can pick out, where you can see individual words or a couple of words that come together, and they're coming together frequently. And maybe what you want to do is figure out what combination of single words, double words, triple words are in all of my, are in that entire list of customer search terms. What if I were to able to like group those together so that I'm really focusing, so that I can identify the ones that are the most profitable, and I can identify the single words or double words or triple words that are most expensive, and I can eliminate the ones that aren't working across the board, and I can scale up the ones and come up with some new keyword research based on the ones that are working. And once I introduce this and make this available, I'll go ahead and do a training video as far as how to use it, how to scale, and how to eliminate based off of that data. But I think it's very cool. And then we've got a couple of other features. Now, I won't go into it on this call here, but just because we're running a little bit long already. But I would say that we're going to continue to, we've got some very cool stuff that we're working on in development, especially once we get to the point where we have the account integration with Seller Central. And we're going to make it so that we're going to continue to add on these features, and I'll continue to do webinars like this where I introduce those features and teach as far as how best to utilize those. So keep watch. We're going to keep releasing. We've actually got 1 or 2 of those beta features. They're going to be rolled out here in the next week. So stay tuned. If you're not already a basic user, then you'll be seeing those shortly as well. So, and then some people will ask as far as the, this is actually changing our pricing. This is just a comparison as far as the right now we just have the free and the basic version that's available. Pro Edition, we're expecting, I'll say publicly that we're targeting February 1st, but for as far as like a publicly available version of that. Enterprise is going to be a little bit longer because that that's a lot more complex as far as some of the features that are available, but we'll continue to add on features to each of the accounts in order to build these up even before they're publicly released. As far as, this is simply just on the comparison as far as on the About page. On the ppcscope.com, you can see basically a high-level comparison between the different features of the plans. You can see that we have our feature list here, and we're working toward a bunch more features that we're going to have, and we're going to continue to release from, every couple of weeks we'll be releasing additional features. So if you want to take a look at that and get a little bit more clarity as far as what some of the differences are between some of the plans that are going to be coming out, you'll have a better idea primarily just by looking here. We do also have some price increases that have occurred as of January 1st. I just haven't I haven't increased the, I haven't updated it yet. It's gone up to, it's $19 per month now. All right, so let me go ahead and address questions while we are working at it here, while we're looking. I'll just throw this back up here. So, all right, so Richard, as far as any testing done with Bid Plus, I have. Yeah, we actually did use it. I reported this a little bit on, along with a number of other people who also have tested Bid Plus, up onto the troubleshooting group on Facebook. We didn't, not particularly thrilled about it yet. It's not there yet. We ran a test on, I think it was like a total of like maybe 8 campaigns across a couple of different accounts. And we found that it was pretty much an even split, where we had a couple of campaigns that improved, we had a couple of campaigns that lost money and got worse, and we had a few campaigns that just pretty much broke even and didn't really do anything better or worse. So, and we also noticed that Amazon is still working through some of the technical bugs that they have on that. One of the things, actually, before I get into this, I'm going to ask that if you have a question, post it right now so that I have it. Otherwise, the call is going to end and your question's not going to be answered on the call. But so make sure you post your question now if you have one, or if you want me to clarify on anything particular. As far as back to the Bid Plus, is that we are getting some rumor. We already know that Amazon does. We'll call it. I used to call it. I call it a penalty. Amazon certainly doesn't want me to call it a penalty, but it is an observation that if we pause campaigns that are directly relevant to our product, or have search terms that are directly relevant to our product, or even if we pause individual search terms that have direct relevancy to our product and are not already running in some other campaign, as an example, that within a few days, in many cases, depending on the relevancy of that term to your product, you may observe a drop in your organic search position as a result of Amazon. The way I look at it is because Amazon is a self-serving system. They have another number of programs, FBA, advertising, marketing web services, Bid Plus. These are all things that Amazon wants you to use. Some of them are paid, some of them are not. And when you stop using them, the algorithm takes that into account as far as your organic search position and may not give you as much of a bonus, let's say. We won't call it a penalty, you're just not getting the bonus of you as a result of using their services. And so what we observe is pausing a campaign, and more recently, within the last 3 weeks, pausing a relevant individual search term can have a negative effect on your organic position for that search term. We have some feedback, and this part is still theory. We have some feedback from people suggesting that when they turned off their Bid Plus, that their organic position dropped. Most of the time, we do take into consideration how many units are being sold as a result of the pay-per-click advertising. And when we make a statement of an observation that an organic position has dropped, we're taking into consideration the number of units that were actually being sold through that advertising and what impact it should have had as a result of taking away those units being sold on a daily basis versus what we're actually observing, which is a lot more aggressive as far as, that's why I call it a penalty. So while some have reported that turning off Bid Plus had a negative impact on their organic position, I have not tested that thoroughly yet, and so I can't make that claim at this point. It's just a theory that we're testing. All right, so next question. Shea butter. What do you do with zero impressions? So I actually have a whole webinar. I'm not sure if you were familiar with that one yet. Let me see if I can grab the URL for that specific webinar. Where'd it go? So you can actually see some of my other videos. I'll just post a link up to some of the other webinars and videos that I've created already. One of those is a troubleshooting webinar that actually goes in and discusses things like zero impressions. When it's truly a zero impression on a keyword, it's not going to show up in a search term report, so you're not going to see it on a tool like, like on PPC Scope. Once we have the integration into Seller Central, we'll be able to see those things and be able to alert you to such issues. But it's truly zero impression, not just low impression, but truly zero impression. That is typically, that signals a block. What that typically means is that for whatever reason, that search term is in conflict with the product that you're selling or the category that your product is in. It could also be a case where there's an issue with your specific, there's an error at the ad group level if you're seeing zero impressions across an entire ad group. We also see where, as far as cannibalism or when there's duplication of a search term between one, it could be the singular form or plural form of that same search term, or an exact duplication of that search term with with the same search term using the same match type in a different campaign or ad group. You may end up with zero impressions because all the traffic's going to the other location, to the other search term. Either a singular might be pointing to the plural version. The traffic might be all going to a different campaign if there's a duplicate. You can run search terms concurrently if the match types are different, like one in broad, one in phrase, one in exact, but you start running into conflicts where Amazon likes to split the traffic or send all the traffic to either one location or the other, or in a very rare case, they'll get confused and just negate the traffic altogether. So you do want to check for duplicates. You do want to make sure that the search term is actually relevant to the category that is being shown in. Now, a side note on this, as of January 8th, 2016, In the last week, there's been a number of people who've been reporting some unusual problems with not only with some zero impression issues that they haven't gotten resolution on, and it goes away after a few days. We don't have enough information on that to really call as far as understand what that is. We don't have a decent response back yet from seller support on that yet either. But I would definitely first focus in to make sure category is probably the biggest cause of a zero impression. But definitely go through and look at that that troubleshooting webinar that I did recently. That can help most people who are trying to fix issues. Kate, okay, so if you have words repeating in different campaigns, but they are both producing, do you delete one of them, or do you decide which one to keep? I personally decide which one to keep. I look at the ones that, I look at things as far as what my average cost per click is, what my ACOS is, maybe even what my click-through rate is. And I'll take those into consideration. If they're truly dead on, it's probably not going to hurt you to leave it alone. But if it was definitely weighted to one side or the other, I would definitely go toward the one that seems like it's going to give you the best advantage. Now clock. Oh, actually, okay. I think I can see who that is. Okay, so it's actually one of my clients, so awesome. So the question is, what's the easiest way to find any duplicate search terms in different campaigns? For now, the software is going to be able to do that here soon and be able to look for you. Right now, the easiest way to do that is simply just go open up your search term report into a spreadsheet like Excel or Sheets, sort alphabetically by the customer search term, or the keyword. You could have duplicates in either side there. Actually, sort by keyword is probably the better use, and just look to see where you've got repeating, where the exact term is repeating, and check to see if it's in more than one campaign, and then make decisions based on that. That's the easiest way to do it right now, just using the search term report, at least until we have it enabled in the software. Richard, as far as if Amazon plans to open up sponsored ads in categories like jewelry, jewelry is a grandfathered category. Like for instance, I have a client that advertises in jewelry. It's not particularly effective because of maybe the price point that they're at, and so it's been kind of closed off to new sellers. They may open that up periodically. They may grant a request if you submit an appeal to them and request that you be added on to advertise in a category that doesn't normally have it. There are certain categories where they simply just don't allow it, like adult, and they probably won't. Jewelry, they're going to be a lot more restricted on. I think electronics, there's some restriction on as well. So probably the best thing to do on something like that is you either need to go with a different category that is not gated on as far as sponsored ads go, or to try to appeal to seller support and see if you can get it approved. Okay, so next question is, just pop my search term report through free version and I'm losing a bunch of money on what I would consider my best keywords. That's that's not uncommon, because a lot of times what we see is like, well, man, I'm just killing it. I'm selling 100 units of this product, but then you start going in and you start looking at the actual advertising reports and you realize, wait, I'm losing money like crazy. This is converting, but it's really expensive. So in those situations, if you have, like, as an example, let's say you have a specific search term. Let me go back, actually show an example here. Let me go back up here. Actually, just start back up and look at one of the more losing terms. I'll just drill down in here really quick. Let's go to accessories. And if I look at down here on this beta feature here, as far as the least effective table, and like I said before, we're going to add in more detail on this so you can make some better decisions. But let's say tent clubs as an example. is the one that I'm selling 100 units on, but I'm losing money on. In this, it's not showing that obviously because there's no sales on this one. But in this case, tent clubs maybe is too generic or too popular of a term that it's very expensive on a cost per click basis. So typically what I would do is I would do bulk research from there. I would take that core search term, I would take it out to a bulk research tool, Merchant Words, AdWords. The AdWords Keyword Planner is an example. Plug that term in there and get a list back of, like in AdWords Keyword Planner, they're going to come back with probably up to 800 keywords. And those 800 keywords, there's going to be some that are relevant, some that are not as relevant, but according to Google's world, Google search world, those are in the proximate neighborhood. And so then I take that entire list of 800. You can put up to 1,000 keywords into an ad group. I would take that entire list of 800 keywords that are related to tent clubs. Put those, I would create a manual exact match campaign. Put every single one of those in there. Just put that entire list in there as exact match. Some people like to experiment using exact and phrase. I don't really recommend broad, simply because you get too much overlap going on and it may interfere with your other campaigns. The idea of using the exact match is primarily to really focus, to kind of a laser focus. You're looking for what they call long tail terms. Those are the more rarely searched terms, or like in this case here with tent clubs, maybe a long tail would be blue tent clubs with gold plating. That would be, you know, a very long search that somebody might do, but not very many people do. But because it's so targeted and so specific, you have a much higher chance of having a conversion because it's targeted. And so what you're looking at this entire list of 800 terms in your exact match campaign, and I would start out with a you know, a relatively low budget, $10, $20, whatever, and a low default bid, maybe 25 cents. Start out with the first week of, like, say, 25 cents. This is where you're looking for the really cheap long tail words. You might pick out, after a week, you might find that you have 10 keywords that are related to tent clubs that bring in buyer traffic, have a lower cost per click, and convert at a higher rate than tent clubs by itself. And then you raise your default bid up to, the next week you raise it up to 50 cents, and the week after that 75 cents, and $1 after that. And you're basically going up in stages, and you're identifying, okay, here's the next 10, here's another 5, here's another 1, here's another 20. And you're going to pick up a bunch of different related terms that you may have already identified in other campaigns, but you're also going to pick up a bunch of terms that wouldn't even be picked up in an automatic campaign. And you're going to identify, here's the one, I've accumulated 20, 30 new search terms out of this list of 800 that can bring me total traffic at a lower cost and a greater conversion rate, better than this really expensive primary seed term of tent clubs. And so then I can drop the bid on tent clubs, and the traffic gets focused in on those other 10, 20, 30 terms that you found through that bulk research discovery. Those are the kinds of techniques that you use both to grow, to scale up and grow the amount of traffic you get to your products, but also to convert an expensive term that's, you know, that has an ACOS of 391% down to something much more reasonable, much more feasible. So give that a try. Kate, back to you. Okay, so what are reasons that my 2 auto campaigns are my best performing campaigns on some weeks, very low ACOS, or my worst, like they have been these past 2 weeks? Well, okay, so two things on this. One is, keep in mind, is that automatic campaigns are controlled by Amazon. Amazon likes to have control, and so they prefer automatic campaigns. And so they're using more of their back-end intelligence in order to understand where to show terms to shoppers based off of the shopper behavior, based off of what they think is going to get the click through, what they think is going to convert, and ultimately what's going to give them the higher cost per click too. There's a number of factors that go into that. The challenge with manual campaigns is that you're starting out with, you're kind of hitting the reset button when you create a new manual campaign, in that you start a manual campaign and you tell Amazon where to show your ad for 5, 10, 20 keywords. And it'll start showing your ad in most cases, but it doesn't have any history. It's about conversions and click-through rates and preferences from customers to know if they should be showing your campaigns more, or if they should give you any of a lower, giving you a higher priority in your ad placement, therefore resulting in a lower cost per click. And so initially, a manual campaign is going to be more expensive, and it's not going to perform as well as an automatic campaign until you start getting some time. Once you educate Amazon's algorithm over time, you'll start seeing that drop, especially as you continue to optimize, you continue to add in new keywords that you found through keyword discovery, eliminate or reduce the bid on ones that aren't performing well. And you're going to teach Amazon, A, you know what you're doing because you're working on it and you're optimizing, and you're using a tool like PPC Scope, hopefully, to help you with that optimization. And Amazon's got that history they built up. And then what happens is, you create, okay, well, let me create a brand new campaign, and that starts all over again with that particular campaign. So I think what you're going to see, and the second thing I was going to mention on that, Kate, is that over the past couple of weeks, you're talking about the holiday season. The holiday season gets all jacked up when it comes to pay-per-click. People are clicking through on ads like crazy, just kind of seeing, okay, I got this, TV remote control from Aunt Sally. What's the value of this thing? Is there something? Maybe maybe I can return it, and I can buy something better. Maybe they got a gift card and they're just kind of shopping around. They're doing a lot of window shopping to consider whether or not they return. And so there's a lot of activity where it was a lot more expensive the week of and the week after the Christmas week or the holiday week. That is very disruptive, and it's not a good period of time to look at and say, well, this is the way it's going to be, because it's going to be completely different next week. All right, so I think that is the last of the questions, unless anybody wants to throw anything in there really quick. I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this session. If you are not currently using even the free report on PPC Scope, go ahead and give it a try. I encourage you to. Make sure that you're aware that the contact support links on the page, whether you're a free user or basic user, they do work. We do respond. We do help. We do bend over backwards to help. So make sure that you reach out to us if you have any questions, if something's not clear, if training's bad on the training page, or if you want assistance with strategy. Make sure you're plugged into the Amazon PPC Troubleshooting group, as well as make sure you reach out to us in support so that we can help you. I do offer one-on-one consulting. That is something that you can certainly reach out to me. I'm Brian Johnson. I'm on the Amazon PPC Troubleshooting group on Facebook. Look me up there. Be glad to help. We do have others that are part of the group that are also available to help. And especially on the basic, for those of you who are using the basic plan, give us your feedback on the beta features. If you see something new in there, if you see something that, hey, that doesn't look right, the numbers don't match up, anything like that, most of the time, there's a reason for it. It's not necessarily a bug. So make sure that you communicate to that to us, to ask for clarification. Maybe we need to make it more clear. Maybe we need to adjust the interface of the data to make it more useful and more clear. Tell us. Don't just dump us and say, oh, it doesn't work. Tell us. For those of you that are more advanced, and you're using pivot tables or you're using some other big data algorithm or something like that, talk to us. We'd love to hear your ideas. We can tell you as far as where in our development roadmap that the features and functionalities are that are going to meet your needs, so that you know when to come back and take a closer look. We encourage that conversation, and I will gladly pick up the phone and talk with you one-on-one on Skype, on the phone, whatever. Just let us know. We're here. Thank you, everybody. I'm going to go ahead and end this call right now. My name is Brian Johnson. Make sure that you reach out to us on with contact support on ppcscope.com. Make sure you check out some of the other videos that I showed in this link here on YouTube for the PPC Scope channel, as well as look us up on the PPC Scope page on Facebook, as well as the group that focuses in on the pay-per-click troubleshooting, which is Amazon PPC Troubleshooting on Facebook. We're glad to have you. There's about 2,000 others on there already, so glad to have you join the community. Thank you, everybody.